All right. Have you ever sat in a meeting and thought, I know exactly what the issue is, but no one's saying it? You feel it in your gut. You've seen the pattern. You know what's coming next. But the team wants more data, more process. And suddenly, what felt like a simple solution is now buried under overthinking. Let's talk about that because effective problem solving at work often starts with following your gut, especially if you're a thoughtful, intuitive leader in an environment that rewards perfectionism over decisiveness. Let me tell you a quick story. One of my clients was on a leadership team at a mid sized tech firm, and she was bright, capable. I mean, everyone loved her. But when it came to solving team problems like missed deadlines, poor cross functional alignment, or bad morale, well, she always found herself stuck in analysis paralysis. She'd hold back her instincts, thinking if I don't back this up with data, they won't take me seriously. And meanwhile, the guy sitting next to her, less experienced, less aware of the dynamics, he'd speak up. He'd speak first, get credit, and set the direction. And the problem wasn't my client's thinking, it was that she had been trained to second guess her gut instinct. And this happens to a lot of people. You may see it in people who are young or new to the organization. They're not sure how to show up, and walking into a big meeting and saying, my gut says we should do this, doesn't go over well. Okay, so on the other hand, I had a client, only one, who told me he had such a strong gut instinct that his boss was always inclined to listen to him. He told me, I don't know what it is, but I'm never wrong about these things. And people have learned to listen to me. Even when it sounds crazy, my instinct is always right on. And that's the issue. He couldn't explain it. So let's talk about that. Here is what I want you to take away from today's video. Problem solving doesn't always start with a spreadsheet. It starts with pattern recognition, intuition, and experience. But in corporate environments, especially those with high performance pressure or perfectionist cultures, instinct can be viewed as risky or unproven. So we all fall into this trap of trying to justify every decision with excessive data, long slide decks, group consensus, or a perfectly polished plan. And while we wait for all that validation, someone else takes the lead. Right, dog? That's right. This happens a lot in high achieving environments, especially with leaders who are wired to be thorough and thoughtful. So I found that the best conversations I have with my clients started coming from the personality tests that I was facilitating. So let's talk about the Hogan profile for a second. In Hogan's development survey, there's a derailment behavior called diligent. And this shows up when someone sets extremely high standards and feels no one else can meet them. When a person is overcompensating in this area, we use terms like high standards, perfectionism, micromanaging. These people double check everything. They take back work they've delegated. And when pressure increases, they dig deeper into perfectionism as a coping mechanism. Now, contrast that with another personality profile in Hogan, those with low learning approach or low science scale scores. These folks are decisive with less information. They trust their gut. They've developed strong pattern recognition, and they solve problems by connecting the dots quickly. That's not reckless. It's intuitive leadership. It is an enormous strength, and you'll see it appreciated more as you go higher in the organization. That gut instinct combined with years of industry experience, it suddenly adds value. And let's be clear, this isn't about being impulsive. It's about learning how to trust your instincts as data too. In fact, your gut instinct is often the result of years of pattern recognition. You have seen enough projects, enough people, enough politics to know what the early warning signs look like. And yet so many leaders dismiss that instinct with thoughts like, what if I'm wrong? What if I speak up and they push back? What if they ask for data I don't have yet? This fear of being wrong keeps us silent, and that silence creates more problems than the original issue. The truth is, your gut can be a faster, smarter compass than another spreadsheet. And people who succeed in fast-paced, complex environments learn to balance instinct with evidence, not replace it. If you've ever hesitated before speaking up in a meeting, even though you knew what was off, well, that's normal. There are a number of factors that contribute to why we don't speak up in the moment. Be okay with it. But here's why this happens. One, you've been rewarded for getting it right. You were praised for being meticulous, for being prepared. So now, unless you can prove your point perfectly, you stay quiet. 2, you've been burned by rejection. Maybe you offered a bold solution once and someone shot it down. Now you hold back unless you're absolutely certain. 3, you're surrounded by data driven decision makers. They love numbers, charts, predictive models. They are on the other end of the Hogan measure. So you've learned to play their game, even if your instinct said otherwise. But here's what's important to remember: just because your gut doesn't come with a PowerPoint deck doesn't mean it's wrong. In fact, it might be the insight your team needs to hear if you're willing to trust it. So, how do you know when to follow your instinct and when to pause? Here's a quick 3-part check in I use with my clients. 1, pattern recognition. Ask yourself, have you seen this before? If you've seen similar dynamics or outcomes in past roles, that's data. Your gut is picking up on a pattern. 2, present moment awareness. Ask, am I reacting from fear or responding from clarity? Gut instinct feels steady, even if the stakes are high. Fear feels frantic, defensive, or self protective, a little like perfectionism, especially when that's not who you are. 3, purpose driven action. Ask, will speaking up move us closer to the goal? If your instinct leads to forward motion, not control or blame, it's likely worth sharing. This is about offering a clear, grounded insight and letting it lead. We talk about the loudest person in the meeting. That person's not always right. When you contribute, you're adding value. That's what's important. The more senior you become, the more valuable your instincts are. Like I mentioned earlier, you're not being paid to do the same task over and over again. You're being paid to solve problems, anticipate risks, and lead people forward. And you can't do that if you're stuck second guessing your gut instinct. When you hesitate, someone else decides. When you overfunction, you lose sight of the bigger picture. When you bury your instinct in perfectionism, your power disappears. So let me ask you, are you showing up as the problem solver your team needs, or are you still waiting for permission to trust your gut? Here's what I want you to remember: you've earned your instincts. You've seen enough, learned enough, led enough to know when something is off and when a decision needs to be made. So the next time you feel that inner signal, that little voice that says, this isn't working or this is the real issue, don't shut it down. Take a breath, say the thing, lead with clarity, because trusting your gut is not soft. That's executive presence. If this hit home for you, I want to hear about it. Drop a comment and let me know. Have you ever ignored your gut instinct and regretted it later? Also, this is part of a bigger conversation we've been having on this channel about overfunctioning, burnout, and reclaiming your power at work. If you missed the last video on being the fixer, I'll link it here on the screen so you can watch that next. It ties directly into what we talked about today. And if you enjoyed watching this video and you found it helpful, please make sure to give it a big thumbs up by hitting that like button, and make sure you're subscribed to my channel so you never miss another video from me. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.